Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Power BI, making reports you actually read. I'm Michelle Robinson, the Director of the Learning Center here at System Source. As we look at the agenda, in the next hour, we're going to explore how to create effective Power BI reports for effective data storytelling, of course, as well as self-guided analysis. At the close of Jon's presentation today, we'll tell you about our hands-on training and the open enrollment classes that are available. And we'll also open the floor for Q&A. But feel free to put your questions in the chat box as we go along. Before we get too far in, I would like to let you know that if you have not received your pizza, please email Julie Dellinger at jdellinger@syssrc.com. Julie will follow up on it for you. Also, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Today's webinar is being recorded and the link will be shared to you afterwards. We encourage you to ask questions. You can type them in the Q&A box at any time and Jon will address them during the Q&A segment at the end or even during the presentation if it's appropriate. If you experience any technical difficulties, just use the chat feature and our support team will assist you with that. And of course, at the end of the webinar, we'll ask you to complete a short survey of today's event. Your feedback is so valuable to us, and it gives you an opportunity to tell us what you'd like to see in the future as well. And Jon, if you want to move forward to the next slide. Of course, there are some of you who are new to System Source, and I want to do just a brief commercial for you to let you know what we do. Many of our clients, they first come to us asking for help improving their IT operations, and that could be the need for IT and end user training or classrooms to train on their own proprietary systems. And others rely on us for the presentation systems rooms, including collaborative conference rooms, your Teams meeting rooms, your Zoom rooms, digital signage, and high-end classrooms and conference rooms. And then, of course, some require the expertise of our top IT consultants, and they specialize in cloud migration, systems management, project management, and infrastructure design. And then if everything is done well in improvements, then, of course, you have to maintain what you improved. And so we offer proactive support through our managed services team, and, of course, support reactively through our service and support team in our dispatch desk. When all of this is done well, then money could be available to acquire new equipment and to be able to refresh the systems as you go along. So just my little 5-minute or less System Source commercial. We are dedicated to educating IT and business folks so that you can make the best decisions on your IT technologies. So today, as part of our free webinar series, we're excited to share insights that can help you transform your data into compelling stories. A little look at our upcoming webinars, a few that you might be interested in. If security is top of mind, our urgent IT security lessons from Verizon's report is highly attended, and there's a lot of great nuggets in there for how to protect yourself and your end users from security breaches. Also, predictable Azure costs, so helping you figure out what kind of budget you need to have available for Azure. We'll also do, with our presentation systems group, we'll do System Source Top 5 in 15 minutes, which is, collaborative tools to power better meetings. I think you'll find that really informative. And then for all of our Power BI folks out there, in March, we're going to do From Data to Decisions. So we're going to talk about AI inside of Power BI with Jon again on March 3rd. I think you'll find that really, really great. So what I want to do now is introduce you to Jon O'Keefe. Jon is System Source's lead instructor on Power BI and artificial intelligence. He has decades of experience in education. He's helped numerous organizations learn to harness the power of BI to better understand their data insights. And so without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jon O'Keefe.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I would like to make a request in the future that we change the line decades of experience to maybe something that's a little friendlier to Father Time and how I feel. Maybe like a lot of experience. Once we hit decades with the S at the end, that's a lot. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Michelle, for the kind introduction. Good afternoon. I hope you're enjoying your pizza wherever it's coming from. Whenever I do these webinars and I see that pizza slide, it always makes me want to have pizza. So perhaps this experience has helped dinner at the O'Keefe household here. Okay, I'm going to close the slides down and we're going to go into Power BI. You don't have to worry about old Jon today. He's not going to bore you with any slides. He's going to take you right into the Power BI application here. So let me go ahead and close that down. And here we are in Power BI. Now, if you're new to using Power BI, this is a Microsoft self-service business intelligence program. And the purpose and why Power BI exists is because, believe it or not, we are still seeing in the year 2026 lots and lots of data science projects fail at organizations. And where the data science projects tend to fail at about 80 to 90% of the time is the understanding of the data necessary to answer questions that are coming from someone inside your business. So wherever you work, someone asks a question: how do we increase our sales? How do we understand where our customers are located? How do we open a second location or a third location? And in most instances, data scientists out there struggle with knowing the institutional and organizational data necessary to answer those questions. It's a real challenge. So Power BI helps people inside businesses do a lot of what data scientists do. And today we're going to be talking not only about the process of understanding our data through the use of visualizations. As I'll show you here, a picture is worth 1,000 words. We've all heard that before. But we're also going to talk about how to make something that's a little bit more compelling, because it's easy inside of Power BI. It's one of the great things about this software program. When it's set up correctly and data has been loaded, as is the case here on my Power BI system, when the data's in, it's actually really easy to build a visualization. But many of you who might be a little on the older side might possibly remember, back in the day, there was a board game and it was called Othello. Yes, just like the name of Shakespeare. It was modeled after the Chinese game Go, but the slogan for Othello was "a minute to learn, a lifetime to master." And one of the great things about Power BI is it really is a minute to learn, but there's so much extra things people don't know you can do with it. And so the mastering part of it is definitely where training and just spending time understanding what you can do in the application comes in. So let me start by just giving you the power of a visualization. I am going to open up some data, just some raw data, stuff that you might see inside any organization out there in the world that's doing some sort of data collecting. So to start that, let me show you where this data that's in this report here is coming from. And then, my friends, I'm going to ask you a question. It is not a question you need to answer in the chat. It is a rhetorical question, but let's go ahead and ask it anyways. So I'm going to open an Excel file and a CSV file here. And I'm going to open the CSV file as it was intended to be open inside of a Word document. So, or a notepad document here, as is the case. So let me start off by showing you raw, what we call transactional sales data. And I've got a list of stuff here. When something was ordered, when it was shipped, how it was shipped, which customer bought it, but tracked by ID, what product they bought, but tracked by product ID, how much they bought, what they spent, what the profit is. Now I'm going to ask you a question. You're looking at transactional sales data. This could come from a register or an online store or whatever. And I ask you to tell me which of our states that we sell into is buying the most stuff. And then I ask you to tell me what they're buying. Now, this data here doesn't change, and it goes down several thousands of rows down here. So 1,829 rows, and I've got some old data here that goes down another 1,000 or so. And so we've got all of this transactional data, and I'm asking you a question. What states are we selling into, and what products are we selling into those states? And you're looking at this data right now, and you're saying, boy, Jon, I can't even answer that given the way our ERP system selects data. Well, then I bring up across my monitors here and I show you a nice little CSV file. Yes, this is what a CSV file actually looks like when it's not loaded into an Excel program. And I've got all these customers and where they're located. So now we're starting to think about ways maybe you can tell me the picture of this here. And then I want to know what they're buying. And so I am capturing some sort of product ID, and I got a whole other table in here of all of our list of products separated by product ID and product name. So yeah, the data exists. But if I ask you the question and I say, hey guys, quickly, can we talk about location-based sales and what we're selling into these locations? And you're not going to be able to, looking at this data, give me an answer. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, Jon, let me build a pivot and then let me import this CSV file in here. And so what I'll do is I'll pivot this into this, and then I'll add the products to the pivot. And I'm saying, absolutely, that is exactly what I would do with Excel. And I'm going to tell you that's going to take a minute. And if I'm just being asked a simple question by someone, do I really want to start pivoting all of this data? Do I really want to start trying to show them another table? The answer is no. So let's go into Power BI and let's take all of this exact data. I have changed nothing. All I have done is connected to this Excel document and this CSV file. And out of that process, which once you learn how to do it is fairly easy and reasonable, out of that process, I end up with all of this data inside of Power BI. I've got all of these tables, which are formed from what we call queries. Those of you with some database experience will understand. And inside of these tables are relationships that exist, which allow me to simply and easily build visualizations. Now, inside of my version of Power BI, I will show you I have one thing turned on that makes a big difference. And so if you're Power BI users and you want to build the same way I'm building, under the File tab, inside Options and Settings down here, we'll open up our options menu, and I have a preview feature turned on called On-Object Interaction. On-Object Interaction has actually been around for quite some time. It's still in preview feature because there are many folks who have been building with Power BI for years, And this does change the way we build. So with on-object interaction turned on, building visualizations inside of Power BI has never been easier. Now, I asked you to tell me how we're doing by location. And I showed you an Excel sheet and a CSV file. And if you have a lot of Excel experience, you're already thinking, well, how am I going to pivot this all together? How am I going to interrogate the pivot? Do I want to build a visualization off of the pivot? But what happens if we want to drill down further? And your mind is spinning of how to solve this. With the proper data setup inside of Power BI, I can simply come in here and say, I want to build a map. And I do that by selecting a variable inside of a table. This is that same customer table that I showed you in that CSV file. And now it's represented as data inside of Excel after a quick connection. We can go in and we can see we've got customer IDs, names, city, states, zip codes, countries, and regions. And so the question is, how are we selling into each state? Now, instead of building a whole pivot, I click one thing, it starts to build a map. Now you're going to notice here that I'm going to get a notification because these maps are going away and they're putting in new maps. I'm going to upgrade this. It's not something you have to do when building, but it's going to bother me. So now, by simply saying, yes, Power BI, I want to look at our data by the state level, and then going down to another table here and saying, I want to know how much we're selling. Now I've made a quick and simple map. Just like that. So instead of thinking about all of that data in the Excel spreadsheet, now go ahead and think about how you would answer my question. What state are we selling the most into? And when I put this into focus mode, which shows me the entire visualization, then I can easily see, just by looking at this, that California is our biggest circle. So I've answered the question after 2 simple clicks inside of Power BI, as opposed to having to build a bunch of different pivot tables. Now, I can even take this and divide it a little bit further. By selecting region here, I now get color-coded regions based on how we're dividing our regions in the United States. You'll even notice that as I hover my mouse over this, I'm getting what we call a tooltip. And the tooltip is something that shows me additional information about any data variable inside of Power BI. So now I've got a map that shows me total sales by state and is divided by colors into regions. And just like that, I've gone from the Excel sheet and a CSV file and a separate table and having to pivot them all together into building a visualization that starts to answer that question, folks, of how are we doing per state? Now, the second part of that question was a little bit more complicated. In our organization, we currently have products, and we break our products into categories. So this company sells 3 separate categories of products here: apparel, footwear, and sports. So I want to know, looking at this map, when I'm looking at a state, how much have they sold or how much have they bought in each product category? And with a quick change out, I can take out my colors for the region, and I can add in my product category here for the legend. So now this visualization is a little bit more interesting. Each state, instead of being a simple circle, is now showing me the breakdown of each product category. And as a quick eyeball test, this isn't too bad. I can see that I've got pink as apparel, I've got green as footwear, and I've got a darker green as sports. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, pie charts are not so great. They're a little tough to read, and it's tough to tell the differences in a simple visualization that looks like this. Plus, when I hover my mouse over the state, I'm now not getting the total sales of the state. I'm only getting each individual category here, which is useful for some analysis, but maybe isn't as interesting as I want it to be. So this is a visualization that you will commonly see produced inside of Power BI. Power BI is good at making maps. I've made a map here. Inside of this map, I am tracking how we are performing in each state and each product category. So I fulfilled the ask of my organization. But this isn't all I want to do with this map. We're going to make this map really stand out and become interactive for our end users. And how we're going to do that is, one, I hate pie charts, so I'm going to change this. When I hover over a state, instead of seeing a little text box and instead of seeing a pie chart here, I want to see a whole visualization. I want to track my sales in my product category in a column chart or a bar chart, something that's actually easy to read and we can do proper analysis with, because these little circles here aren't going to cut it. I also would love to give the ability for someone to investigate not just at the state level, but sales at a city level inside of a state and at a zip code level inside of a state. So I'm going to do a couple of things to make this map really pop. First, I'm going to create a new page inside of Power BI. There are 3 different types of pages that you can have inside of Power BI. The first is what we call a report page, and that is where you will build visualizations. In a second, after I'm done making this map look super fancy, I'm going to show you how we can make an entire report page look super fancy. And the goal of a report page is to build 1 or more visualizations for whoever in your organization wants to see them. Here, we're starting with this map because the first question we've been asked is all about where are we selling and what are we selling into those states. So on my new page, instead of having this be a report page, I can actually open up my format and I can change the type of page that this is. Instead of it being a standard page, I'm going to use this to build a custom tooltip. Now, when I turn it to tooltip, you're going to notice, and it's not your eyeballs, my little canvas here has gotten super small. That's because the tooltip page is designed for 1 visualization and 1 visualization only, where a standard page is designed to house multiple visualizations. So when I set this to a tooltip, I then name the page. I can do that in multiple places. The naming of the page will become important later. Tooltip sales by category. Now, what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to build a visualization in an area this small, I'm just going to go ahead and tell Power BI, yes, I would like this to become visually bigger. It doesn't mean I can add more visualizations to it. This is just now physically bigger on my screen so I can design. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a stacked column. Well, we'll do a clustered column chart here. And I want to know category and sales. And so once again, building a visualization inside of Power BI, not that difficult, surprisingly. So with my data here, I simply just select the things that I want to see in my visualization. And because I've turned on that on object interactor, Power BI can actually make suggestions and show me the different types of visualizations that would work well with my data. So that makes building a lot easier. Now, of course, if you're an old builder like I am, you can turn this off. This assistance can go away, and then I can manually build things. I'm going to go ahead and add my category back into my legend to give me some colors here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this visualization as big as the canvas. You're going to see why in a second. I'm going to customize it inside of my format. I'm going to turn the title off. I'm going to turn the legend off. And I am going to turn my y-axis off. Now you're saying to yourself, John, if you turn the y-axis off, I know you've been hoping to say y-axis on a Wednesday, but John, if you turn the y-axis off, how are we going to know how much each thing sold? And I'm going to say, that's a great question. I love that you're thinking like that. And what Power BI allows me to do is, instead of using my axes here to define my data, I can actually turn on data labels. Data labels are available inside of most visualizations. And what a data label does is it will place the amount of whatever we're tracking here. In this case, it's sales, and it will place it inside of the bar here. Now, of course, I can change that. I can change the way the value is formatted, so I can make them bigger if I want to. I can change the font if you like a different font there. And we can play around with all of this, but we'll go ahead and we'll leave it like this. This is nice, Arial black, pretty big, easy to see. So this visualization is designed to show me how much we've sold in each of the 3 categories. On my map, I'm currently tracking that by this pie chart that's part of this visualization. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and say, no thanks, I don't want that pie chart. I did like the way it looked with the regions, though. I thought that was a nice touch. So that way we can quickly identify Eastern US, Southern US, etc. But John, you're still kind of hovering over, you're not really answering that question of how much are we selling in. So now what I'm going to do is, with this visualization selected, I'm going to tell it that I want to give it a custom tooltip. So now I've told Power BI that for this visualization, I would like this visualization here to become the tooltip. And now when I hover over, I can easily see for each state what they've sold. So now this visualization, a lot better for interactivity, something that someone would actually want to use. How am I doing in Texas? Awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now I can see that we've sold 15.6K in sports, 8.8K in footwear, 4.9K in apparel. How are we doing in California? 26K in sports, 15K in footwear, and 7K in apparel. Now, of course, if we want to analyze this at a different level, so let's say I also want to be able to see how we're doing by sales-wise by city. I could easily build a similar visualization with cities and sales. I could then hover over, and I could even, if I want to, go ahead and add that custom tooltip to this visualization. So now when I zoom in here, I can see this city in Oklahoma, which I'm assuming is Oklahoma City. Then it will go ahead and tell me how it's broken down. But I don't want two maps to do this. That seems ridiculous. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete that map. We don't need it. I'm going to add another feature to this map, and it's called a drill down. A drill down allows me to interrogate data in a hierarchy, meaning there's usually a top category, a middle category, bottom category, etc. So a naturally occurring hierarchy would be state to city to zip code. State to city to zip code. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a quick hierarchy here, utilizing my state. I'm then going to add my city to it. And then I'm going to add my zip code to it. Now the zip code, city, and state measures here don't disappear, but now I've got this new little state hierarchy. And let me show you the difference. If I take location out, the map's going to break. If I put the hierarchy in for location, the map goes exactly back to the way we thought it was. But now, as an end user, I can turn on drill down into the hierarchy. So what's going to happen is that when I click on a state, it's then going to show me the cities. When I click on a city, it's then going to show me the zip codes that are in there. So if I click on Maryland, it now drills down and it shows me the city. If I click again, it now drills in and shows me the zip code. Maryland's a bad example in this data set because there's only one city and only one, that might have been DC also. But here, if I click on California, you can see all of the different cities here, and that custom tooltip still works. Now, if I click on a city, we'll click on, I don't know, sure, Los Angeles, and then here are all the zip codes inside Los Angeles, and I can track my sales, and I can still see, I can go back up, and I can even go down one level at a time for the entire map. So instead of this being states now, it is now cities. And instead of it being cities, it's now zip codes. Pay no attention to these European zip codes. This comes from bad data that we would normally fix in a class, but we haven't fixed it because this is just a webinar. So that is how we take a single map and we make it a lot more interesting visually. An end user can hover over, track individual product sales like they asked, and drill in to see further data elements such as city and zip code. Of course, if we had individual address, that might be the fourth level of our hierarchy. Other hierarchies that you would consider here inside of Power BI are, for example, in our products table, we might make a hierarchy that shows me category and then subcategory and then name. Now, I've been asked also by my organization to track product sales, and we want to track it by individual product. So that's another thing that we're interested in taking a look at here, is tracking by individual product. So that actually becomes a pretty easy visualization for me to build. I've got product name, which shows me a list of all of the products we sell, and I've got sales here. So now I've got a visualization that shows me our product names and our sales, but it's not super interesting, and I can't really drill into it in a meaningful way. So one thing that you can also add to add additional flair to your Power BI reports is what we call a drill through page. Now, a drill through page allows me to create a page, and on this page, I can build as many visualizations as will fit. I'm going to start out by building a quick table that's going to show me product name, or it's going to show me order date. It's going to show me product name. It's going to show me how much we sold in that product and what our profit was in that product. So this shows me, this is right now a table that shows me every sale that we've had, tracking it by order date, what was bought, how much we sold, and how much profit we made. I'm also going to make a quick map here. And you'll see why in a second. Now, yes, I know, upgrade map. And let me go ahead and just put in region. So it looks a little nicer. So I've got two visualizations on this page. Now, one, I'd like to point out that visualizations by default inside of Power BI are interactive with one another. Meaning that if I click on California here, even without drill downs or anything added, by default, now all it's going to do is show me California sales. And if I want to prove that to you, I can add state. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Excuse me. Click down here. I can add state to my sales here. And so you can see it's all California. If I click off of California, then it goes back to normal. If I click on Washington, it shows me Washington, etc. So by default, one of the nice things that Power BI does is it makes all your visualizations interactive. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this into a drill through page, similar to the way in which I created a tooltip page. I'm going to go to my properties of this page, and now I'm going to turn it into a drill through. I'm going to call it drill through sales by product. And I'm going to tell Power BI here that I want to drill through in any visualization that has a product name associated with it. I get this little back arrow, which you'll see in a second. So right now, on this page, with nothing else, I have a table that shows me every single sale by product item here, product name. And I have a map showing where every single sale occurred. Now, if I go into this visualization that I've just built, and I've built it using product name here, which is how we are drilling through, I can then right-click on one of these variables here, and I can drill through. So you're a user at my company, you're on our products page, which I've renamed here to products. Let's stay organized. We're on our products page here, and you're looking at this and you're saying, huh, that's super interesting. We've got our baseball 24 pack is our best selling item. I'd love to learn a little bit more about those sales. And so I can right click here and I can drill through to that page that I just created. Now what you're going to see is that these visualizations have automatically adjusted to show me data only about the thing I asked the question about. I want to know about baseball 24 pack. So I did. I put in, now this table is only showing me baseball 24 pack. This map is only showing me baseball 24 pack. If I want to know which customers have bought it, I can put in customer name as a visualization, and then I can turn this into a scatter and do it by profit and sales. And whenever I ask a question about anything, I can see what customer bought it. So this customer, Frank Castillo, has bought the most baseball 24 packs. These are the states that baseball 24 packs have been purchased in, and these are the orders in which they've been purchased. This is the sum of sales. So we've sold $7,432 worth of baseballs, and we profited $1,858. So a drill through page is another great way of analyzing data. Now, one of the things that you might notice when we're drilling through here is that these baseball 24 packs, we sell a lot of them, but we don't get a lot of profit off of them. So I'm kind of curious. I would love to be able to calculate the percentage of profit that we've got here. And I can do so because I've utilized something called DAX. If you look at the original data here inside of my table view, and you look at my sales orders here, you can see that I'm calculating our sales, I'm calculating the profit of a sale, and I'm calculating how much a sale costs us. So these three things are fairly typical, but I don't have a profit percent. To do something like that, I can utilize something called DAX. And DAX allows me to, through the use of formulas and functions, similar to Excel, to create custom measures. Now, what I've done here, and the way this reads, is we're going to take the sum of profit divided by the sum of sales plus the sum of shipping order cost. That's going to give me a profit percent. So I know in every transaction what percent of the sale is profit. Now, the next thing I'm able to do is I'm then able to create what we call a nested if statement. You can do this in Excel too. This will look familiar if you know Excel, and create a profit tier. So if my profit percent is less than 25, let's categorize it as low. If my profit percent is greater than 25 but less than 40, let's calculate it as medium. And if it's over 40%, let's calculate it as high. So now that I've got those variables created utilizing DAX, which is again is something you learn in our Power BI class, I can actually go ahead and drop this right onto this visualization. I would prefer it to be, there we go. And so now when I look at this visualization, the story gets a lot more interesting. Rather than just showing you how much we've sold per individual products, by creating a couple of new ways of looking at our data, how profitable is it, what the percentage is, and then grouping those percentages into groups, I can now see with perhaps some alarm that my two highest selling items are low profit. And so rather than just creating a simple visualization that's a bar chart and then creating a table that shows profit and trying to do it that way, now with this visualization, an end user can quickly scroll and identify high profit items, medium profit items, and low profit items. And then when they get curious about an item, they can right click on the item and drill through and see, these are the people that buy them, these are where they're being purchased, and these are all of the purchases. $7,000 worth of tennis rackets, $1,400 worth of profit. So again, this all comes down to data storytelling. I can build a simple visualization over here in 2 clicks, product, item, and sales, and I have the same visualization as I do above, but by creating 1, a drill through page, and then 2, adding our new way of calculating data in profit tiers, the visualization gets much more easy to understand and interactive. So those are a couple of ways in which you can build visualizations that really tell a story. So as an end user, when I'm looking at my map here, I'm able to see additional data from my tooltip and drill into my data to ask questions. With my products table, I'm able to create a simple visualization that tells me how much each product sold, but by using DAX to create new measures of which we can analyze our data, I'm able to show very fast to an end user a profit tier and give them the ability to drill in and look at their data in a specific way, essentially applying a filter, for those of you familiar. Now, another way in which I can make my visualizations interesting is, instead of just building on a white plain canvas, I have a couple of other options. There is nothing wrong with building on a white plain canvas like this, but if you're trying to make your visualizations pop, you may be interested in looking at other ways to build with your canvas. One, canvases can be changed to different types of sizes. So that's just basic information. The default canvas inside of Power BI is 720 by 1280. That's actually relatively small in terms of pixels, but it's fine for most people. But all of this can be changed. Now, another thing that I would highly recommend doing, and these are available all over the internet, is you can actually build on top of a background. So one, I can change the colors. That's one thing you can do, but I don't really care about the color, any of that. I'm going to put an image in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find an image file that I've got. This is just simply a JPEG file. And now, instead of building on empty canvas space, I've got a pre-layout here where I can build visualizations in. And I can take a visualization like this map from page 1 here, copy it, and paste it. Now I've got my map, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off its borders. And I can put it inside of this space here. I could build another visualization next to it here. It's tracking category sales. I want regular category. There we go. Now I can take this visualization and place it over here. Once again, in empty space. We'll go ahead and we'll take that border off because that doesn't look so good. There we go. And now I'm starting to build visualizations here that fit within the framework of my templated background. Once again, because visualizations are interactive, if I go ahead and I click on a subcategory inside this visualization, such as baseball, my map is now just showing me baseball sales. If I click on footwear here, the map is now just showing me footwear sales because our visualizations are interactive with one another by default. I could build a third visualization down here to track sales over time, utilizing a date table and sales and region. And now with just a little bit of effort, we've got a much nicer looking report here. So these are available everywhere. And a lot of people just tend to build on Canvas. And that is one option, just build on white canvas. But if you want to make your visualizations pop, one thing that you can do is you can set up a custom background like this. You can either build it yourself inside of PowerPoint. You can also build it inside of Power BI here, utilizing the shapes feature. I could build a sidebar on my canvas. As well as a top bar. And then all I have to do is make sure the visual borders are off. And so we could do this as well. You can build your own custom in here. Now, one of the things that I find pretty helpful when building out complete reports is the use of interactivity through something called a slicer. A slicer is a visualization that you can add, and it's basically a filter. So I can add a slicer here, and I can say, let's slice by region. One of the things that I can do is I can place my slicer up top in a bar up here. I can change the size and style here. I'll turn off the border, but I could turn on a background if I want, or I can go into the values here and change the font color to be white. Now you can actually see them. I could make them bigger. We can go ahead and place that up here. So that way our slicers are out of the way of our visualizations. And we've got these tiles we can pick from. So as an end user, I can go ahead and I can easily, when I'm in a report like this, just simply come up and say, I just want to see Central US, Eastern US, Southern US, and all of my data elements will change. What I typically would recommend doing is once you have your slicers, then you're going to actually just copy each page. You can duplicate a page, and all the visualizations will come with it, which means that now I've got a duplicate of this page I just built, and instead of it being these 3 visualizations, I can change it to 3 other visualizations, and then as someone navigates through my report, each page will have the same structure, same slicers, same titles, etc. up here. Now, one more thing I want to show you in terms of building custom storytelling is that even with slicers and whatnot, it can get confusing. How am I building this? I want someone to see a specific view of my data. So maybe in the data story you're trying to tell, the first thing you want to do is on our first page, we want to go into California and we want to show the end users the performance of California. Then we want to go to our products page so they can see our products. And then we want to drill through next by baseball 24 pack so that this information is available to us. In the real world, sometimes you, the person that builds the report, isn't always going to be there. So you can't guide an end user through using this map. You can't tell them, click on California, look at each of these, then go to our products page, select baseball 24 pack and drill through. You can't navigate them this way. An end user can navigate any way they want, including using slicers, filters. And so one of the most effective ways at helping an end user navigate, if you're not going to present, is through bookmarks. With a bookmark, I can capture a state of a single or multiple visualizations as they are. So I'm going to click into California here, and I'm going to add a bookmark, and I'm going to call it California. Then I'm going to go to my products page and bookmark this and call it products. Finally, I'm going to drill through and I'm going to add another bookmark called baseball 24 pack. Then on this visualization here, I'm going to set this so it's showing Central and Eastern US. And I'm going to bookmark that as Central and Eastern US. Now, even with the bookmarks bookmarked, I can still click around and I can change things and click on states or click on empty or click on blank or whatever. But I can also now turn on my bookmark view. And down at the bottom, I get a navigator. So the first thing is California. The end user sees California. Then they click here and they see our products page. Then they click here and they go to baseball 24 pack. Then they click here and they go to a separate page that's showing Central and Eastern US. So bookmarks allow me to tell a very compelling visual story when I'm not even present to guide an end user through it. So, as a summarization, inside of Power BI, we can build interesting visualizations, not just basic maps, but maps with custom tooltips and the ability to drill into a hierarchy. Not just a simple product sales table, but one that shows me profit tier and has a landing zone for further questions. We can also build visualizations using custom backgrounds to help us arrange and organize our data in a way that makes sense. We can duplicate these to keep a centralized theme when necessary. So I've got still my slicers, still this here. We can impact the way our end users engage with visualizations by using slicers and by building with bookmarks. All of the stuff that you've seen today are things that you can learn how to do inside of Power BI when you take our Power BI training. Everything I've done here is with data that's available in that class and are things that we end up building. Okay, I'd like to open it up for any questions. I see, okay, if anyone has any questions, now is the time.
While you are putting your questions in the chat box, I would like to tell you a little bit about some of the courses that we have upcoming that might be helpful in your journey. So System Source offers an open enrollment schedule with over 3,000 scheduled courses, and hundreds of them are guaranteed to run at any given time. So there's plenty for you to choose from. Among those are our Power BI courses that you see in front of you. I'll tell you a little bit about the difference here. So we've got the data analysis practitioner and the data analysis professional. The The difference between those two classes is the first 2 days are exactly the same. The professional adds a third day that goes, that's more appropriate for people who have a paid Power BI license versus the free version of the license, because you have extra tools that are available to you. We also have a 1-day Power BI dashboard in a day. This is a jam-packed full day building a dashboard. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's a great class. And we have people who sometimes take that class after they take the practitioner or professional, just so that they can do another practice day of that. It's a great class. Then we have the Mastering DAX for data analysis and the data transformation and modeling as you build onto your practitioner or professional courses. So those are available to you. They can be done privately. So if you have a group of 6 or more, you may realize some savings by doing a private class. And when we do private, there is an opportunity for us to customize it to your specific needs for your organization. So think about that. And then I just want to let you know that, again, we have at the end of the webinar, you will have a survey to complete. We will do a drawing for a $25 gift card from the list of those who submit their evaluations. So we would love to hear your questions. And on that survey, you'll also have an opportunity to tell us if you are interested in learning more about some training that we offer, or other things, other services that are offered. So please do fill that out, and you'll have another chance to tell us what you'd like to see in the future. John, it looks like you've done such a great job. There's no questions in the question box.
All right, fair enough.
So at this point, we'll turn you back to your day. We hope you enjoyed the session today. We look forward to your feedback. Thanks so much.
Bye.